when it comes to dating, particularly with girls, there are certain things you absolutely need to do, and there are others you must avoid at all costs. Throughout this series, I've been emphasizing the actions that can help you stand out and create meaningful connections. But let's be real, even if you have the charm of a Hollywood heartthrob like Brad Pitt, if you fall into the traps I'm about to describe, you might find that you'll never get the chance to see that girl again. Let me illustrate this with a story that will make these mistakes crystal clear. One day, a young man was sitting in a park, casually enjoying the weather. He spotted a young woman sitting alone on a bench, engrossed in a book. There was something about her that immediately caught his eye. She was undeniably attractive, with an air of calm confidence. His first instinct was to approach her. I should go over and talk to her, he thought to himself. But as he considered how to make the move, negative thoughts crept into his mind, causing him to hesitate. He worried about what to say, how to say it, and whether she would even be interested in talking to him. His heart raced, and he found himself rooted to the spot. By the time he finally gathered his courage, the woman closed her book and stood up, ready to leave. He sat there in frustration, mentally kicking himself for missing the opportunity. But instead of giving up, he made a decision. He would return the next day. He noticed that the woman seemed to visit the park regularly, so maybe he could catch her again. Determined to make the most of the next chance, he decided to try again the next day. True enough, the next day he saw her in the same spot. His heart started racing again, and he could feel his palms getting sweaty. He told himself that this was the moment, that he would finally approach her. But just like before, when it came time to take action, his nerves took over. He stood there frozen, watching her from a distance, unable to take that first step. Each day, he kept returning with the same plan, but every time he got close, his anxiety paralyzed him. He would think, today is the day I'll do it, but every time, he found himself just watching her leave, wishing he had acted. This pattern continued for several days. After almost a week, he finally managed to gather the courage to walk over to her. He approached the bench nervously, trying to calm his racing heart. To ease into the conversation, he pretended to be interested in the book she was reading. "Is that book any good?" he asked, his voice shaky. The woman looked up from her book, smiled politely, and responded, "Yes, it's one of my favorites." Her smile gave him a glimmer of hope, and for a moment, he felt encouraged. He tried to keep the conversation going, but his nervousness made it hard to focus. He stammered, barely stringing together a coherent sentence. The conversation was awkward, and after a few minutes, she politely excused herself and left. He felt disappointed, but also a little hopeful, as she hadn't brushed him off immediately. He thought, maybe I'm making progress. He returned to the park the next day, hoping to build on their brief interaction, but once again, his anxiety got the best of him. Every time he tried to engage her, the conversation was strained and uncomfortable. He couldn't keep his nerves in check, and he found himself stumbling over his words. The more he tried, the more he felt his confidence slipping away. The conversations remained short and awkward, and he could see that she wasn't fully engaged. Despite this, he refused to give up. He kept returning to the park, hoping that one day he could turn things around and win her over. After many more days of constant effort, he finally managed to convince her to go out with him. They went on a couple of dates, and while the initial excitement was there, things quickly began to unravel. As he spent more time with her, his feelings grew deeper. However, so did his insecurity. Instead of enjoying the moments they had together, he found himself obsessing over whether she liked him. He started going to the park multiple times a day, hoping to catch a glimpse of her. His thoughts were consumed with wondering if she was thinking about him, and he felt an emotional roller coaster depending on how much attention she paid him each day. The more he thought about her, the more overwhelmed he became. The intensity of his feelings grew, and so did his need for validation. He couldn't seem to enjoy the moments they shared without questioning whether she truly cared for him. His insecurity began to seep into his actions, and he found himself becoming clingy and overly emotional. Eventually, feeling confused and frustrated, he decided that the only way to resolve his feelings was to confess them. One afternoon, after another brief and uncomfortable conversation, he blurted out, "I really like you, and I'd love to take you out sometime." The woman seemed a little taken aback, as though she hadn't expected this level of intensity. After a pause, she responded gently, "I'm flattered, but I really just see you as a friend. I don't want to ruin that." Her words hit him hard, leaving him even more confused and disheartened. He couldn't believe it. He thought he had been doing everything right. Maybe he hadn't tried hard enough, he told himself. So, he kept pursuing her, even though each time he asked about going out, she kindly but firmly turned him down, emphasizing that she valued their friendship and didn't want to complicate things. As time went on, she began to distance herself further. She spent less time in the park, and when she did show up, she seemed preoccupied, no longer engaging in their brief exchanges. Eventually, he noticed that their conversations were becoming even more strained. And one day, he decided to call her to ask why things had changed. She explained that she had been busy and had a lot on her plate, but assured him that they could catch up soon. However, that soon never seemed to come. So, what went wrong for this young man? If we take a step back and analyze his behavior, it becomes clear that he made several critical mistakes. These mistakes are more than just bad luck. They're patterns of behavior that are often associated with low-value traits, such as insecurity, neediness, and a lack of emotional control. Let's break down the key mistakes he made. Before we dive into this topic, let's aim to get this video to 3,000 likes. Your support helps us create even more valuable content. Let's go. 1. He overvalued her looks and lost his own sense of value. One of the most common mistakes men make is over-prioritizing a woman's physical appearance. This mindset is deeply ingrained in society, where beauty is often elevated above other qualities. However, when you treat someone as though their looks make them more important than you or others, you immediately create an unequal dynamic, one that works against you. A high-value individual, whether male or female, knows how to see beyond the surface. They understand that physical beauty is not rare. Attractive people exist everywhere. What's truly rare is a combination of depth, personality, and shared values. By putting someone on a pedestal simply because of their outward appearance, you unintentionally send a message. I don't believe I am good enough for you. What's the alternative? Shift your mindset. Treat physical beauty as a bonus, not the foundation of someone's worth. When you engage with a woman, focus on what makes her unique beyond her appearance. Talk about her interests, values, goals, and passions. By doing this, you'll not only distinguish yourself, but also challenge her to show you the things that make her genuinely interesting and worth your time. Here's the truth. Most women are used to being judged primarily on their looks. The moment you break that pattern, you'll stand out. When you genuinely value personality and depth, you position yourself as someone who doesn't conform to the usual narrative. You become the intriguing individual who refuses to chase after superficial traits. That confidence, that subtle indifference to beauty alone, is what draws people in. Women notice when you don't fawn over their appearance. It's not about ignoring beauty altogether, but about showing them that you prioritize substance. Confidence like this isn't just attractive, it's magnetic. It signals that you don't need to seek validation because you already know your own worth. And that's the kind of energy people gravitate toward. 2. He agreed too much, and it killed the connection. Another mistake that men often make is falling into the trap of agreeing with everything a woman says in an effort to keep the peace or avoid conflict. This might seem like a polite or thoughtful approach, but in reality, it's a fast track to losing her respect. Let's break this down. When you constantly agree with someone, you come across as someone who lacks opinions, boundaries, or a clear sense of self. You inadvertently communicate that you value their approval more than your own authenticity. And here's the harsh truth. No one, man or woman, is truly attracted to someone who appears to have no backbone. Think about this scenario. A man strikes up a conversation with a woman he finds attractive. He's nervous, overthinking every word, and desperately trying not to offend her. Instead of expressing his true thoughts, he agrees with everything she says, nodding along and laughing at jokes he doesn't find funny. He avoids any topic that might lead to disagreement, thinking that this will keep her interested. But here's what's really happening. She's getting bored. Why? Because there's no spark, no tension, no sense of individuality. A woman isn't looking for someone who agrees with her every word. She's looking for someone who can challenge her, engage her, and hold his own in a conversation. The truth is, respectful disagreement isn't a bad thing. In fact, it can be incredibly attractive. It shows that you're confident enough to express your own opinions without fear of rejection. Women aren't looking for someone to mirror their thoughts. They're looking for someone who can add value to the conversation. So what's the solution? Be yourself. Share your opinions, even if they differ from hers. Disagreements, when handled with respect and humor, can create a dynamic and engaging connection. They show that you're not afraid to stand your ground and that you have a strong sense of who you are. 3. He desperately sought her approval and pushed her away. Perhaps the most damaging mistake a man can make is seeking a woman's approval. This behavior stems from insecurity and fear, the fear of rejection, of not being good enough, of losing the connection. Unfortunately, this mindset creates exactly the outcome you're trying to avoid. When you seek someone's approval, you put them in a position of power over you. You send the message that their validation is more important than your own self-respect. And here's the thing, attraction doesn't work that way. It's not something you can earn through desperate efforts to impress someone. Imagine this. A man meets a woman he likes. He's so focused on winning her approval that he spends the entire conversation talking about himself, his achievements, his hobbies, his opinions. He's trying to prove that he's worthy of her attention. But in doing so, he completely misses the point. The more he talks, the more he comes across as insecure and self-centered. The solution? Shift the focus. Instead of trying to impress her, let her impress you. Ask open-ended questions about her life, her dreams, her passions. Listen actively and engage with her responses. By making the conversation about her, you not only take the pressure off yourself, but also create a space for genuine connection. And here's the bonus. When you stop seeking approval, you naturally exude confidence. You're no longer trying to prove anything because you already know your own worth. This self-assured attitude is incredibly attractive, and it creates a dynamic where she feels drawn to you, rather than the other way around. 4. He made it clear he wanted her too early. One of the most common mistakes I see men making is being overly transparent about their feelings too soon. This is a critical mistake that can actually damage your chances with a woman. You should never be the first one to say, "I love you," or to reveal your deep feelings too early in a relationship. Why? Because when you make your emotions too obvious from the start, it often triggers a psychological shift in the woman's mind. She might feel like she's conquered you, which ultimately kills the attraction. Think about it this way. When you immediately tell her that you're into her, it erases the tension and mystery that naturally builds attraction. She might start thinking, "Okay, I have him now. What's next?" This diminishes your value in her eyes because, subconsciously, women are attracted to men who seem challenging to win over. When you reveal all your cards too early, you're no longer hard to get. Here's the key. Keeping a little mystery makes her stay intrigued. As long as she's left wondering about your true feelings and intentions, the attraction remains high. Women are naturally drawn to men who don't make everything obvious. They want to chase and be unsure. Therefore, never make it crystal clear whether you're into her or not. Let her guess. Keeping her uncertain about your emotions keeps the spark alive and the attraction intact. 5. Trying to solve her problems. One of the quickest ways to fall into the dreaded friend zone is by constantly trying to fix the woman's problems. You might think you're being helpful, but in reality, you're doing more harm than good. Here's the truth. Women don't want you to solve their problems for them. When you jump in to save the day and solve her issues, you immediately position yourself as the provider or caretaker. In her eyes, you become like a big brother figure, someone who is there to fix things, not someone she could potentially have a romantic connection with. This dynamic automatically kills any potential attraction. What women actually want is someone who listens to them, not someone who immediately offers solutions. They want to be heard, not fixed. Women have their own ways of dealing with their challenges. Sometimes, all they need is a sounding board, someone who can actively listen and empathize. When you step in and try to fix everything, you communicate low value and lack of attraction. Instead of rescuing her, just be present. Listen to what she has to say, validate her feelings, and give her space to process her emotions. You'll find that this builds a much deeper connection, as women value emotional understanding far more than someone constantly offering unsolicited advice. 6. Being too disinterested. Many guys make the mistake of acting completely disinterested in a woman to try and seem cool or aloof. While some level of disinterest can be attractive, as it shows you're not desperate, going too far can be detrimental. There's a fine line between being playfully aloof and being outright rude or indifferent. The trick is to show a balance of both interest and disinterest. For example, you can say something like, "You look cute in this dress, but I think pink would have looked even better." In this sentence, you're expressing interest by complimenting her outfit, but also adding a bit of playful disinterest by suggesting a different color. This shows that you're not overly invested, but you're still engaged. However, a lot of guys get it wrong by taking the disinterest too far. For instance, saying something like, "This dress doesn't look good on you. You should have tried pink," is rude and insulting. You've essentially disrespected her, and that can quickly turn her off. The key takeaway here is to mix genuine compliments with playful, lighthearted disinterest. Don't be overly eager or too distant. Maintain a sense of balance. The goal is to show that you're interested, but not desperate. By doing so, you'll appear confident and playful, which is much more attractive than someone who is either overly interested or completely indifferent. 7. Never discuss your problems with women. One of the quickest ways to destroy attraction is to constantly discuss your problems with a woman. While it's important to have emotional outlets, sharing your struggles or difficulties with her can send the wrong message. Women want to see you as strong and capable, able to handle challenges on your own. When you share your problems with her, it implies that you need her help or sympathy to feel better, which can diminish her respect and attraction toward you. Instead of constantly venting about your issues, take the time to deal with them independently. This doesn't mean bottling everything up, but it's crucial to maintain your emotional stability and resilience. Women are naturally drawn to men who can handle pressure and overcome obstacles without leaning on others. If you continuously seek her support in tough times, you risk being seen as emotionally needy or dependent. Moreover, It's equally important to avoid sharing your insecurities. Telling her about your weaknesses, past failures, or ongoing struggles paints a picture of insecurity and uncertainty. This can create a dull impression, which is the opposite of what attracts women. It's not about pretending to be perfect, but about maintaining confidence and strength in the face of adversity. That said, there is one situation where sharing your weaknesses might not kill attraction: when you can laugh at yourself. If you can make a joke about your flaws or imperfections, it shows that you don't take yourself too seriously and that you're confident enough to laugh at your own shortcomings. This subtle self-deprecating humor can be charming when used appropriately, as it shows you are comfortable in your own skin. But the key is to be lighthearted and never overly negative or self-critical. 8. Never give a direct yes. One common mistake many men make is being overly eager to please women by constantly saying yes to everything. It might seem like a way to keep her happy, but in reality, it can diminish your value. Being too available and agreeable can make you seem needy or desperate. Instead, you should create a sense of challenge and make her work for a yes response. For example, if she asks, "Let's go shopping today," instead of instantly agreeing, you can respond with, "No, let's watch a movie first, and then we'll go shopping." By doing this, you set some boundaries and make her wait for what she wants, which makes you seem more confident and in control. This approach signals that you're not easily manipulated or just going along with whatever she says. You have your own schedule and priorities, and she has to respect that. However, this tactic should be used appropriately. If she asks for something important or urgent, like needing a ride to the doctor when she's feeling ill, you shouldn't play games. In such situations, it's important to be compassionate and helpful. But for casual or non-urgent requests, making her work for your yes is a powerful way to maintain your value and create attraction. Remember, the key is to be assertive, not dismissive or rude. It's about balancing your own desires and boundaries with her requests, and never coming across as too eager or overly accommodating. 9. Never let her get you mad or upset. One of the most important rules when it comes to maintaining attraction is to never let a woman make you angry or upset. If her actions or words provoke an emotional reaction from you, it signals that you are not in control of your emotions, and she is the one who is influencing your behavior. In essence, she is the one driving the interaction, and that is a clear sign of weakness. There may be times when a woman says or does things that are hurtful or frustrating, but it's crucial to maintain your composure and not react emotionally. Showing anger or losing your temper in these situations makes you appear weak and vulnerable. Instead, you should remain calm and unshaken, like a rock in the middle of a storm, no matter what she says or does. You should act as if it doesn't affect you. Why is this so important? Often, women will test you by pushing your buttons or trying to provoke an emotional response. If you react the way she expects, you've failed the test. She'll view you as someone who can be easily controlled, and this undermines your value in her eyes. On the other hand, if you remain calm and unfazed, you pass the test and display strength, emotional control, and maturity, all of which are highly attractive qualities. It's also worth noting that in many cases, women don't necessarily want to cause harm or hurt you. They might just be testing how you handle stress or emotional pressure. It's not about the actual words or actions. They're watching how you manage your emotions. By staying calm, you show that you are in control of yourself, and this makes you more attractive. Let me share a personal story with you. This one hits close to home because it's about me. Not long ago, I found myself caught in a situation where emotions took the lead, and I lost control. The girl in question had the power to sway my every feeling, and I, unfortunately, let her. I made the mistake of giving away my emotional strength. And let me tell you, it cost me more than I ever imagined. It took me time, hard lessons, and a lot of introspection to realize how important it is to stay calm and composed. No matter what, don't repeat my mistake. Keep your emotions in check. Stay grounded. Don't let anyone, no matter how close they are to you, control your emotional responses. The strength is in your ability to choose your reactions. If you've ever been in a similar situation or learned from your own mistakes, I want to hear your story, share your thoughts, and don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more content like this, and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Let's learn together and grow stronger as a community. Thanks for being here. And remember, your emotions are yours to control. Stay strong.